Michigan, and the fact that they're still in the tournament, of course. Jim Alampi, Great to Excellence. Great to Excellent is the name of the book, and he continues to say over and over and over again, it's the execution. But you also talk in the book about barriers to get over. Let's talk about what they are so that we can recognize them when they come up.
You know, it's really all about complexity in a business, and the people and the things that you did to get to a certain size company are usually not the ones to get to the next size company. So it's the ability to learn and reinvent ourselves as CEOs, reinvent our leadership team, maybe reinvent the whole company.
Well, okay, those are natural barriers that everybody has to face. Have you?
Absolutely. I had the privilege to lead 3 public companies. I did 3 startups, and every time I'd hit the same barriers, so they're very predictable.
Were you always somewhere between great and excellent?
I was between good and great at times, trying to get to excellent.
But you would be considered now, looking back on your career, to be a successful businessman.
I guess I'd have to ask the people around me whether I was successful. The companies were certainly successful. If I knew what I knew today, I would have been an even better CEO.
Are these suggestions or these recommendations, are these guidelines applicable to every size company?
Absolutely.
Mom and pop shops or General Motors?
Startups, multi-billion-dollar public companies, anything in between, absolutely.
So the barriers, it would seem, for a small company these days, just simply is staying afloat, isn't it?
Staying afloat, finding the capital to grow the business, finding the right talent. Companies are having a harder and harder time finding really qualified people, and it all starts with the people. Without the people, nothing else makes sense.
Boy, you sure spend a lot of the book talking about hiring practices.
Oh, indeed.
Give us 3 secrets right now. People watching right now on their way to the car, they're saying, wait a minute, hold it. This guy may have something for me when I get to the office.
Great companies hire and fire for core values. Most companies hire for experience and skills, and then they fire for values. So the single most important criteria in hiring great employees, what are their core values and how well do they align with the company's values? Number 2, A, B, and C players, the whole process of top grading. C players suck the wind out of most companies, and A players, our best people, won't work with C players. So if you tolerate a lot of C players in your company, ultimately you'll chase a lot of the A players away and be left with a population of C players.
All right, but the guy that does the hiring, or the woman who does the hiring, look at the resume. It doesn't say A, B, and C on it. They're all saying, I'm an A player. If you're looking at a resume, and whether that's a good idea or not, I'd like you to review, how can you tell who's the A guy, the B guy, and the C guy?
Actually, there's an entire process called top grading. There's a book called Top Grading that defines how do you create the scorecards and what attributes do you interview for? What people do you interview? I mean, most companies interview everybody and try to sort it out afterward. Great companies say, we're not even going to interview B and C players. We only want to see A players in person. So there is a whole process to doing it. It's not make it up as you go along. It's following the top grading process.
We have one of our interns just a couple of days ago with his resume, and I was wondering if anybody really needs a resume anymore.
The trouble is, there are so many people looking for work out there. Resumes have tended to become fluff, expanded in terms of attributes and things. So it's really hard to get through what's real and what isn't real on a resume. People have become professional interviewees during this recession.
Wow.
Because they've interviewed so many times trying to find a job, and it has made the job of the HR director even tougher to try to sort through what's real and what isn't real.
All right, so what do you leave on and what do you leave off the resume? Give us one resume standard that they can live with now for the rest of their careers.
What did you achieve? Not just what you did and the responsibilities, but tell me one thing in that job that you achieved that was notable.
All right, so then if I successfully get the job and I move into management, The D word is prominent throughout this book. That is delegation. Is that a natural skill? Is that a natural talent? I know so many people who just simply take everything on themselves and they don't pass the goodies around.
And that's typical in a startup environment, that micromanagement, I'm going to do it all. But to grow a company, at some point, as you bring in additional leaders, the CEO has got to figure out, I need to get things done through my people and not continue to do them myself. You know, one of the greatest sports in business is delegating up. People love to make their problem their boss's problem. And the reality is there is no delegation up unless you're dumb enough to let it happen. You know, great leaders always keep pushing things down and getting their people to solve problems.
Give me an example of the first business that comes to your mind that pretty much represented the rules that you lay out, that is really a success now, a familiar name.
Probably not familiar to a lot of people, but in the industry familiar, a company called Insurance Auto Auctions, public company that I ran. We practiced all of that, and that's probably the capstone of all the thoughts and things I put into the book.
There's an enormous amount of success in an industry called this book. Great to excellent. Jim Alampi, the subtitle, Overcoming the Natural Barriers to Profitable Company Growth. Wouldn't we all love to do it? This is Pat McMahon. We continue to grow and develop here on the Morning Scramble. Come on.